Alright guys, today we are going to be going over the study guide for our upcoming test. And so I've started here, I went ahead and filled in the work part, and I just put some empty parentheses so that we can fill in those parentheses with the given number that they want us to replace or substitute the variable with. So the first one, number 1, it's -5 times y. So it's important that you put those parentheses here so that you know that -5 is being multiplied times whatever y is. And so they want us to substitute -2 in for y. So we'll put -2, and then we'll find our answer by simply multiplying -2 times -5. A negative times a negative is a positive, so the answer is positive 10. Number 2, x minus 11. We want to substitute a 10 in for x, and then we subtract 10 minus 11. Now when we're subtracting integers, we do want to make it 10 plus -11, and then they have different signs, so we will subtract and keep the sign of the larger. So the difference there is 1, and the larger one is negative, so we will have our answer as -1. Number 3, we'll substitute in 3.5 right here. And according to the order of operations, we do need to multiply first before we add. So -2 times 3.5, well, 2 times 3.5 is 7. And since one of them is negative, that would give us -7. So we have -7 plus 10. And -7 plus 10, different signs, subtract, keep the sign of the larger. So that would give us a positive 3. For number 4, we want to substitute in -2.5, so we'll put -2.5 right here. And then we do want to multiply first according to that order of operations. Now 2.5, if you times it by 5, we're going to have to make that an improper fraction and make 5 into a fraction. So I'm going to kind of take this up top here. And so if we have 5 over 1 times -2.5 would be 5 over 2. And so if we multiply those together, we get -25 over 2. And so we want to change that back to a mixed number. 2 goes into 25 12 times with 1 left over. So -12.5, so we have 30 minus -12.5. When we have minus a negative, that'll turn into plus. So 30 plus 12.5 will give us 42.5. And number 5, we are going to substitute in for w of 5, and so we'll put it right here. But make sure, since there's a negative in front of the w, that you have a negative in front of 5. And then it'll be -5 plus 9, different signs, subtract, and keep the sign of the larger. So positive 4 is our answer. For the next section, you can see here that there's some different numbers here and here. And so we are actually going to use the numbers that we see on this side. Those are the ones I'm actually going to plug in. We're not going to pay attention to those numbers. So I went ahead and put our work in right here. And so I'm just going to substitute in the first number, which is -8, the second number, which is -2, 0, and 4. Now remember, according to the order of operations, we do have to multiply first. So 3 times -8 is -24, and then plus 14. We'll add those together, and that will give us -10 for our answer. The second one, 3 times -2 is -6, and then we add 14 to that, and that will give us a positive 8. For the next one, we get 3 times 0, which is 0, plus 14 will give us 14. And then the last one, 3 times 4 is 12, plus 14 will give us 26. So we will take those answers and just plug them in over here. The next part of the study guide is using the distributive property. So we want to put our work in the first blank and our final answer in the second blank. So for number 7, we want to distribute a -1. So it'll be -1 times 4 plus -1 times 1. So when we actually multiply those together, that'll give us -4 plus -1. So the answer is -5. Number 8, we're going to distribute a 5 to the 12 and to the 4. So it'll be 5 times 12 minus 5 times 4, or 60 minus 20. So the final answer is 40. And number 9, the number that we're distributing is actually on the right-hand side. So we just want to take it and move it out front because that's where we're used to seeing it. And then we'll distribute negative 3 times negative 2 plus negative 3 times 5. Negative 3 and negative 2 makes positive 6. Negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. And then when we add those together, we'll get negative 9 for our answer. For number 10, we'll distribute the 3. So it's 3 times 1 plus 3 times 80, or 3 plus 240, which would give us 243. For number 11 here, we are actually going to do that distributive property of division, where we take the denominator and distribute it to the terms in the numerator. So we'll have 16 over 2 minus 4x over 2, and when we simplify that, that'll give us 8 minus 2x. Now we can't simplify that any further because we can't put 2x, the negative 2x with the 8. We can take that answer and rewrite it as negative 2x plus 8 because mathematically speaking, we should be putting the variable term first. Number 12, we're going to be distributing the negative 6a. So we're going to distribute that to both terms. Negative 6a times 2b minus negative 6a times 2. So that's going to give us, when we multiply those together, negative 12ab. Minus a negative will turn into a plus, and that'll give us 12a. Now keep in mind we cannot put those together, so that would be our answer, negative 12ab plus 12a. Those are not like terms. The variables have to be exactly the same. On to the next page. We have an 8 to distribute. We can go ahead and move that out front just so it looks more normal. And we would do 8 times 6 minus 8 times x, which would give us 48 minus 8x. And then if we want to rewrite it with the variable term out front, it would look like this. Number 14, we want to distribute a negative 2r to all 3 terms inside the parentheses. From there, we'll multiply, and we will get negative 8r squared. We'll go ahead and make this a minus because we don't need that double sign there. And then it'll be 2r squared. Minus a negative turns into plus, and then we'll have 16r. Now we can put these two together because they both have r squared as their variable. Now a negative 8 and a negative 2 makes a negative 10 r squared plus 16r. Number 15, I'm going to go ahead and kind of work this one out up here because it's kind of a longer problem. So we're going to take negative y squared and we're going to distribute that to all the terms in the parentheses. So I went ahead and just wrote out negative y squared 4 times and put empty parentheses next to them, and I pulled these signs, the pluses and minuses, based on what was in the parentheses. So now I'm going to go and fill in the terms. The first term is a 7y. The second term, I've already put the subtract sign, so it's 9z. The third term is a z squared. And the fourth term, I've already put the subtract sign, so I will just put the 3. So now we'll go in and actually times each of these together. The first term will be negative 7y to the third. Minus a negative makes plus. Then we have 9y squared z. Plus a negative, we can just put subtract y squared z squared. And then we'll make another plus there, and it'll be 3y squared. Now we cannot put any of those terms together because they're variables, none of them are exactly the same. So our answer would just be, as you see up there, negative 7y to the third plus 9y squared z minus y squared z squared plus 3y squared. The last one, number 16, we'll be using that distributive property of division. We'll take that denominator and put it underneath each one of our terms in the numerator. So we'll have negative 3, and negative 3. And then we'll just simplify. 21 divided by negative 3 is negative 7. Bring down the x. You have two negative signs, which we know is going to make that a plus. 15 divided by 3 is 5. Bring down the x and y. And then 30 divided by negative 3 will give us a minus 10y. So that will be our final answer. Remember that we can't put any of those together because the variables are all different. For the next section, you're going to be combining like terms to simplify the expression, and you want to make sure that your answer is in simplest form. So for the first problem, we're going to put together 2x minus x, so that's like minus 1x, and 2 minus 1 is 1, so we'll have 1x. And remember, we don't want to put the 1 in the x, we just want to put x, because 1 times x is just x. And then we'll put together the minus 3 and the plus 7, and that'll give us a positive 4. So our answer is x plus 4. In number 18, there are actually no like terms because our variables are y squared, and y to the fourth, and we can't put any of those together, so our answer would simply be 9y plus 2y squared plus 2y to the fourth. We would not be able to put anything together. Number 19, you have to, before you can combine like terms, you have to get rid of the parentheses by distributing. So we'll distribute the negative 5 to the 2 and the x. That'll give us negative 10 plus, and then negative 5x. We'll bring down the rest. From there, we'll combine our like terms. We'll put the x's together and the constants together. A negative 5x and 7x will give us 2x, and a negative 10 and a negative 3 will give us a negative or minus 13. And so that would be our final simplified answer. Number 20, if we want to put together our like terms, we have these n's to put together, and an n, one n, take away one n, they're actually going to completely go away. Then we'll put together 4m, take away 2m, which is positive 2m, and then just put the plus 5 out to the side. In number 21, we see parentheses, so we'll have to distribute. That'll give us negative 35x, and then we're doing minus a negative 5 times 9, so the minus and negative turns into plus 45, and then bring down the minus 22. From there, we will just put together our two like terms, which is 45 minus 22. So our final answer is negative 35x, and then plus 23. Number 22, we can put together these x's, and then we'll put together the constants. So 7x and 3x makes 10x, and negative 12x and positive 10x will give us negative 2x. And then 5 minus 5, they completely cancel out, so our answer is just negative 2x. In number 23, we can combine these two because they have the same variable, and a 2x squared minus 2x squared, they're going to cancel out. So our answer is just negative 3x. In number 24, we have two sets of parentheses. We'll have to distribute to get rid of them. That'll give us 3x minus 12. Make sure you're distributing the negative sign with the 2. For the second set, that'll give us negative 2x, and then that'll turn that into a plus 10 because you'll have minus a negative. And then you just bring down the rest. You can combine 3x, negative 2x, and 3x, which will give us 4x. And then a negative 12 plus 10 is negative 2, and a negative 2 and a negative 7 is a negative or minus 9. So 4x minus 9 would be our answer for that one. For number 25, we'll want to factor out the GCF of 3. And so if we just divide by 3, we'll be left with x plus 4. And so that would be the factored form for number 25. For number 26, we want to factor out the GCF, and because our first term is negative, we'll factor out a negative GCF. And so for the numbers 5 and 30, the GCF is 5, so we'll go ahead and take out a negative 5. And then they both have a p, so we'll also take out a p. And so we'll divide by negative 5p to both of these. That will give us, that cancels, and p squared over p will give us 1p left in the numerator. And then we will have 30 divided by negative 5, which is minus 6. The p's cancel, and we'll have a q left in the parentheses. Number 27, the GCF for 30, 15, and 45 is 15. And then they all have at least one c that we can take out. So we'll be dividing each one of these by 15c. And when we do that, we'll have 2c left for the first term, minus d for the second term, and then plus 3 for the final term. And so that would be our final factored answer. For number 28, our GCF for 12 and 15 is 3. They both have an a, so we'll take out a 3a. And then if we divide by 3a there, that'll give us 4 minus 5b. So that would be the factored form for 28. Now for 29 through 32, you're going to be taking what they tell you to plug in for the variable, and you're actually going to plug it in on both sides, and you're going to confirm if in fact they are equal or not. This will give you 6 plus 7, which will give you 13. This will give you 9 plus 6, which will give you 15. So no, they are not equal. In number 30, we'll plug in 4 for y on both sides. 4 minus 1 is 3, and 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12, and 12 minus 3 is 9. So yes, they are equal or equivalent expressions. For number 31, we have 8 times 3, and then we'll bring down the rest. We'll also plug in a 3 right there. And we want to know, does that equal 10 times 3 minus 3? So that'll give us 24 and a minus 9. We'll bring down the middle part. We do have to apply the order of operations. Over here it gives us 30 minus 3, which we know is 27 for the right side. So when you add 24, 7, and 5, you get 36, and 36 take away 9 is also 27. So yes, these are equivalent expressions. For the last one, we'll be plugging in a negative 2 for n. And so I'm going to do that on both sides. Over here, that's negative 8 plus 7 minus 2. And over here, that gives us 7 plus negative 2, which is 4 times 5, which gives us 20 on the right. And going back to the left, negative 8 and negative 2 is negative 10, plus 7 is negative 3. So those are not equivalent. And now for identifying the coefficients. Coefficients are the numbers that come before any letters in the expression. So the first coefficient is 6, the second one is negative 2, and the last one is negative 1 because there's a minus m there. The constants are the numbers without the variables, so negative 4 and 8. And number 35, the terms are just all of the terms. It doesn't say variable terms, so it just says terms in general. So we're just going to list out all of the terms. Number 36, a birthday party is at the skating rink, costs $35 to reserve the party area and $2.50 per guest for skating. Write an expression to represent the cost of the party using G for guests. So you'll pay $35 plus $2.50 times the number of guests. So that would be our expression. And how much will it cost if you invite 4 guests, 8 guests, or 20 guests? You want to take that expression and just substitute in for G. You'll substitute 4, 8, and 20 to get your answers. So if I do that, if I put a 4 there, you want to make sure to multiply and then add the 35. You'll get 45 for number 37. Then you'll do 2.5 times 8 plus 35 and get $55 for 38. And for 39, you'll do 2.5 times 20 plus 35 to get $85. Now for this last problem, you have 3 sets of parentheses, so you will distribute 3 times. When I do that, I get negative 4x plus negative 4y plus negative 4k. Then I have to distribute a negative 2. That'll be minus 4x plus 12y minus 6k. And then I'll distribute a negative 5, and I will get plus 5x plus 5y plus 10k. And so the reason that all of those turned to pluses is because they were all minus, and then I multiplied it by a negative 5. From there, I'm going to put my like terms together. So I'll put all of my x's together. So there we've got one there and one there. So a negative 4, and a positive 5 will give us a negative 3x. Then if we do our y's together, that'll give us 12 and 5 is 17, and then you subtract 4, you'll have 13y. And then the final one, we'll put our k's together. So negative 4k and negative 6k is negative 10k, plus a positive 10k. They're actually all going to go away. And so that would be our final answer.